Corner Curve Quilts, and I am excited that you are joining me with the steps on making the clue that I sent out with my Size Star Mystery Quilt Along this morning from my website. First of all, I have given you two methods, and the first one is traditional piecing. You cut your squares, and from your squares here you will match them up and draw a line on the lighter colored one, corner to corner. From there you will sew a 1/4 inch from each side of the drawn line, and then that drawn line becomes your cutting line, and when you cut you will then have two half square triangles. From there you will need to trim up your half square triangles, and you do that by using either a square up ruler or I know some of you are beginners, and so I decided I would show you how to do it with your regular ruler. And my regular ruler has a 45-degree angle, and I went ahead and put some tape on it to mark the 2.5 inch mark. And so I'm just going to lay that line right on here, make sure that it lines up, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut and trim. You want to cut away from yourself. Now I want to turn to the other side and trim up going the other way. Again, and this one now you want to make sure you are lining up with the edge, and you have your 45-degree line going down, and then you just trim. I like to spin, that way I'm cutting away from myself, and trim. And you have your squared up half square triangle. You will take your half square triangles, put them together with the reds lining up with each other. You will stitch that. You'll end up with a flying goose unit, which is half of our square in a square. So you will match that up. I like to press the seams open when I do it this way. That way you eliminate some of the bulk. Line it up. Line up your other corners. And at this point, I might take a pin and pin it right there in the center so that they line up. It's up to you how you want to do it. And when you finish, you will have your square in a square. Now let me go ahead and show you how to do the freezer paper method. And cutting out your papers, and you want to fold on the lines. And template of plastic here that I like to use when I fold, and so I'll line it right up here on my lines. I'll just give it a quick little press with my fingernail and make a nice little crease. I also will use a postcard sometimes, or cardstock, and so you can line it up so that that line is right there. Fold it over and crease it. I also have metal Dritz hemis that I will use for creasing my lines, and that can be done like so. You can see on this one I have not trimmed everything down, but that can be done later on. So what you will do is you will take and press your first fabric wrong side to the wrong side of the freezer paper, and the freezer paper has some shiny to it, so it sticks when you iron it. And you'll want to use an add a 1/4 ruler. Place it right there along with your paper folded back, and this has a little ledge there, and it will catch right on that paper, so you will have a nice 1/4 inch when you trim it off. Then to that you will line up your red and the side of your fabric, and you'll line it up. Now I have more extending over here, and actually the fabric, when this is sewn and opened up, it will be over here. And when I have a large piece like this, I like to go ahead and trim that seam allowance before I sew. That way I have a better idea. Let's get that lined up. And we'll cut that. And so then we will take it to our sewing machine and we will stitch right along the edge of the paper, so that when it's sewn and opened up, it will, of course this one will need to be trimmed along the edge before it can be pressed. So let's go to this one. I believe is already seam allowance trimmed. You can open that up, then press it. You press it, it sticks. And then keep going until you have all of your sections sewn. You start with the lowest section and work up. Then you want to trim it, and when you have it trimmed, it will look like so. Now I have section A and section B, and at this point I can go ahead and peel the paper off, just like so. And I have a reusable foundation paper piecing template. Now I'll go ahead and pull this one off. Then at this point, because the way they are labeled, our seams in the center here are going the opposite direction, so you can just nest them right together. And the same with the seam up here and down here. Stitch along it, and when you open it up, what do you do if you sew on the paper? Well, that's easy. You just pop the strings out just a little bit, and you'll still be able to use your foundation paper. What happens if you've used your freezer paper quite a bit, no longer sticky? Well, you can go ahead and use a pin, and with section 1, take your flathead pin and just pin your paper like so. And the same thing if you don't have freezer paper and you want to use just plain computer paper, what you'd probably end up doing is adding a pin after 2 or 3 sections to keep your fabric from shifting. But that works out really well, and then you have a reusable foundation paper piecing template. I'm excited to say that my rulers came in that I had on back order that were out of stock, and so I will be getting those listed soon so that you can order those. And if I happen to be out of stock, send me an email or a text letting me know that you would like to purchase one when they get in. I also have gotten in a beautiful yellow here that will go great with this project. I also have gotten some white, purple, black and white piece, and some other fabrics. So check out my website, and until next time, let's go sew.